And welcome to this special report. My name is Eric VanSickle, and we are talking today with Christian and Ethan Flege. Christian is on the screen's right, and Ethan is on the left. Christian is a cadet first class at West Point, and his brother Ethan will be going to West Point this fall. Welcome, to guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your time. First of all, Christian, at West Point. So how are things going before the outbreak of the coronavirus?
Things are going pretty well. Coming down to my last semester, I was really excited. Look back, time has flown. Seems like I was in Ethan's shoes just yesterday, but it was 3.5 years ago. Obviously, I got my job. I'm going to be a pilot heading to flight school this summer, so I'm pretty excited to get going with that. Obviously, this pandemic threw a little wrench and everything, and I'm not exactly sure what that all look like timing-wise, but it's been a great 3.5 years, and I can't wait to see what.
And then Ethan, you just recently got your appointment to West Point. You're getting ready to head out to New York in a few months. So what do you think about what you're going to be getting into?
Obviously, it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to what the next 4 years and onward brings for me. Just watching Christian go through this process and him being a cadet at West Point, I feel like I have a good idea what to expect, but I'm also going to be stepping into a whole new world when I get there. So it's definitely going to be a challenge, but something I think I'm ready for.
All right. Now, Christian, what has been the experience been like during your time at West Point?
It's been a whole lot of different experiences as far as physical training, academic rigor, military training that I'd never been exposed to prior to West Point. And just finding how to balance all of those things as well as a social life and still being a college kid without growing up too fast, having good friendships and doing things in New York and the Northeast, going on hikes and doing all sorts of different things. So it's really been a really great experience, but definitely one that's been challenging to find balance between all the different areas for sure.
Mm-hmm. So so has been studies been pretty intensive there as well as the physical rigor?
Yeah, I would say that the academic challenges are a little bit greater. Obviously, during the academic year, the focus is on studies and whatnot, whereas the summer we get more focus on military training and the physical fitness. But through the academic year, we're still expected to maintain a high level of physical fitness. We have a physical fitness test every semester that you get a grade for, and that goes into your overall GPA. But I would say during the year, the focus is on much more studies. Coming into with it being my senior year, it's toned down a little bit from where maybe my sophomore or junior year were. Getting into my final mechanical engineering classes and not having so much tedious work with the core classes, it's definitely toned down a little bit, and I'm enjoying those classes a lot more. But at the same time, I've taken on other responsibilities within the military development of my company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and of course, you have companies at West Point. What's the name of your company, so you can give a shout out to them?
We're company E4, and I'm the company commander for that.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you do within your company?
So I'm the commander, so I'm the highest ranking member within the company, but there are many people at the battalion level, regimental and brigade level above me. But my job is basically to ensure that anything that gets pushed down from higher is carried out within our company. Mm-hmm. And then I work with the non-commissioned officer side, who's a junior cadet. He's more regs and discipline. I'm more operations and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good leadership experience because it is obviously peer leadership. I'm trying to lead my classmates as well as the lower three classes. But I've definitely enjoyed it for sure.
Now, what are some of the things that your company do like day to day?
Just every day we have general formations and whatnot where we take accountability. During the academic year, we don't get too involved, but we'll have some cleaning formations and whatnot. Then on the weekends, we'll have barbecues. We try to plan company spirit events where we'll maybe get a bunch of people together and go on a hike or something like that, or have some sports competitions and whatnot. So it really varies, especially depending on the time of the year. In the fall, obviously, we have a lot more barbecues with football season and whatnot.
Right.
And then in the winter, we do Christmas themed festivities and whatnot.
So it's you have intramural activities then that your company is participating in?
Yep. So every company has a bunch of different intramural teams. I do Frisbee in the spring and basketball in the fall. We won the brigade championship last year in the spring, and we're going to repeat this year. Obviously, we can't with the current situation, but
you were going to repeat this year, you'd say.
Yep.
So, Ethan, so what have been some things that Christian's been telling you about the experience?
He's just been giving me some insight on Beast or cadet basic training. Obviously, I've been getting supplies. Like I've ordered my boots. I have to order low quarters, so I've been getting all these things I need, and he's been giving me little tips and tricks that have helped him over the past 3.5 years. That could maybe give me a little advantage or make my life a little easier at cadet basic training and my plebe year. He's also been helping me with the physical aspect too. We've been working out in our basement as much as we can, given the limited equipment we have, but we're pushing each other, lifting and running. And so we're kind of holding each other accountable in that aspect.
Hey, Christian, why don't you turn the camera towards the equipment so people can see what you're Ethan talking about.
It's not much, but it's some dumbbells and a weighted vest, and then a duffel bag with some bricks in it that's about as heavy as we could make it.
So basically, so you can be able to simulate what he'd be that backpack would be simulating the gear that he has to carry.
Yep.
So Ethan, how prepared do you think you are to head out to New York next fall?
Well, I'd like to say I'm in good physical shape, but I know I also, like, once basketball ended, I kind of took a couple weeks off and just relaxed going into spring break. So I'm definitely looking to ramp up my physical training so I can be in my best shape as possible when I get there, because I know that the physical activity that I'll be expected to perform is not going to be easy. So I'm definitely going to want to be in my best shape possible so that it's as easy on me as possible. But also looking at like the academic side, we've had what feels like 3 or 4 weeks off of school. We just resumed online classes today. So obviously, I'm going to work on, tuning up my academics and stuff, because we will be finishing out the semester online, but obviously that's not going to be equivalent to the, in-class everyday instruction that I would be getting from teachers. And that would be 3 months, almost 3 or 4 months that I'd go without being in a classroom environment. So I'm definitely going to want to tune up and work on my core academics before I go.
So is that a certain that you're going to be that the WSR is going to go online the rest of the way? Because that's still the state is still to decide it by the end of this week that whether schools will be allowed to be open on May 1st.
No, actually, but teachers. So we have planned until May 1st.
Yeah.
That obviously will be online. But teachers have said that there's a possibility we'll go back on May 1st, but they're kind of preparing as if we aren't, because they don't want to be in a position where, they find out we're not going back and then they have to, plan 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're prepping out that we are not going back, but always, it's still a possibility that we do go back.
How's that been treating you then, Ethan, for learning from taking high school classes at home?
Yeah, obviously it's been a challenge because some classes I'm in, like just for instance, my choir class, it's almost impossible to, get an entire choir to perform and sing, in the current situations. So we're doing what we can, doing like practices and lessons here and there using like, pen and paper stuff and online things. But for my other classes, it's going to be more on me than it would be in a regular classroom setting. I have to get my work done. There's no set hour time frame where I have to be working on it. It's definitely going to take some individual discipline, which will also be good for me in preparing myself for what I'll be facing in the next 4+ years.
Now, of course, Christian, your situation being home from the academy, and you probably had to do some of your classes online too. Is that correct? So,
yep.
What kind of experience is that, having to go from a structured military-like environment to being at home?
So it's definitely tested my ability to manage my own time. Obviously, being home with family and whatnot, people that I don't normally see all that often, and just all sorts of things around the house that are possible distractions. It's very easy to kind of not focus on my studies, especially when we have classes that don't require a meeting and they just push out a video with the lesson objectives and whatnot, and then have us watch that on our own time. So it's definitely been a test of that. And I think I've handled it well. I've definitely, I think, been able to balance getting those academics done and then also spending time with Ethan and my parents and whatnot, and then also getting the physical fitness in, because that's still important regardless of whether or not I'm home or there. But it's definitely been interesting, especially nearing graduation like this. There's so many requirements that we need to knock out. I actually just got off a hour-and-a-half meeting about finance stuff for when we graduate and how pay is going to work and all that stuff. All these briefings and meetings that would be occurring normally if we're at school, they obviously still must go on because graduation is still supposed to occur on May 23rd, but they aren't certain what that'll look like. So there's all these steps that we need to knock out between then.
So the Defense Department is still figuring that out.
Yep.
Right. So then you said you're going to be doing. You told me once beforehand you're going to be going into flight school after a little bit of a break when you get your commission as second lieutenant. So where are you going to be going, and what do you expect there?
Yes, sir. So as of now, again, pending any changes with the coronavirus and whatnot, I'll be headed down to Fort Rucker, Alabama, which is in southeast Alabama near the Panhandle of Florida, around the middle of July. My official report date's July 21st, but I might head down there a week or so early to get settled in a little bit. And then I'll be in Alabama for about 1.5 to 2 years, maybe longer again, depending on the coronavirus. They have a little pause in training right now with their current flight students, so that could push everything back. And I could fall into that group that gets pushed back a little bit. So probably looking at 2 years there. And then from there, I'll find out my first duty station and then kind of go wherever the Army wants to send me.
Yeah. And by that time, you'd probably become first lieutenant, or is that okay? So, so what do you think? What do you think about the potential you have there, Ethan, within the Army?
Obviously, there's a lot of different paths you can take and a lot of different branches you can enter. I've talked with Christian a little bit about it, and possibly what my life after West Point and after I graduate would be like. And we've talked, and I'm not quite sure what I would want to do, what field or what area I would want to branch into. But that's obviously something I'll learn a lot more about the next 4 years, and I'll get like unparalleled experience into what they could be like and what each branch would be like. So that's a decision, obviously, I won't even find out until the beginning of my first or senior year So it's definitely a ways down the road, it seems like.
Now, have you had any ideas on what you may be interested in yet, or is that something you don't know yet until you get to the academy?
Yeah. So there are some branches that have kind of, piqued my interest. Like cybersecurity is one that I've kind of thought about.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe even like field artillery or joining the Corps of Engineers, excuse me. But part of that will also depend on what I major in, which I'm also undecided.
Yeah.
So, and I'll wait until sometime during my plebe year to decide that.
Of course, you mentioned the Corps of Engineers. Their CEO has been on some of the cable news talking about the building of the field hospitals. Have you seen some of them, and how do you think he is?
I haven't really sat down and watched a whole lot of the news. I mean, feels like most time during the day I'm working on stuff for either my West Point admission or even school stuff now. Sometimes I'll just, venture upstairs or downstairs and see maybe like the White House coronavirus task force will be a briefing, but I haven't been, attentively watching it that much.
I would say look for if you get on YouTube on the MSNBC YouTube channel, try to find a couple of Rachel Maddow interviews of him. He's a hoot. Now, Christian, I was surprised that you're not helping out. If you haven't been asked to help out with coronavirus response, they just not need you to need any of the cadets to help out on that.
I would say that I think the Army's main focus for us is to get us finalized in our last semester and still continue to develop the underclasses. And there are enough active duty soldiers that if they need to pull from the military, like they have in like the Corps of Engineers, I think they're working in New York City and whatnot. And obviously we see all the naval hospital ships. So I do think they're pulling a lot of active duty members, but I think that cadets are, just because our expertise is not all that great, especially within a given field like medical services, we are kind of lower on the totem pole for people who would be called to respond for those kind of things.
I was thinking that'd be all hands on deck. So
right.
Yeah. So what do you think about your respective futures, especially in this time? Sorry, Christian.
I think. Could you rephrase that question?
How do you feel about how the future will hold for you guys?
Okay, right. I'm very excited. Flying is something that I've always wanted to do from my freshman year on. So I was very happy to find that out in November. And as we get closer to July, I get more excited. Granted, I feel a little tired of school, heading to another year and a half of flight school, but I'm excited because it's something very different from what I've been doing, something that I'm very interested in. I'm a mechanical engineering major, and I've taken some aeronautics classes, and I'm in a helicopter design class right now. So trying to get a little head start on that. And then, again, just excited to see what the Army holds. I'm not sure if I'll be out after 8 years or if I'll be in for 20. Again, that'll be just something that I figure out down the line. But for Ethan, I'm very excited to see how he does. I think he's more prepared than I was going into West Point, not because of any help that I've given him. Just I think he's harder worker than me. I think he's more athletic than I was at that point. And I think he just has a lot greater leadership potential than I did at that age and time. So I'm really excited for that. And then as far as his job goes, not really knowing. I didn't know anything about what I wanted to do after West Point in terms of in the Army when I was going. I really didn't even know what my options were. I didn't know there were 17 branches that I could choose from. I thought there was infantry and then a couple other jobs. I didn't know they had that many pilots. So I think that he'll figure out what he enjoys. West Point does a great job of exposing the underclasses to that and then really allowing them to understand more about the branches and then really base their decision, their final decision, their senior year on what they want to do, not just kind of something that they think could be fun. You get different experiences. This last summer, I went and shadowed an Apache pilot in Washington State for 3 weeks, and that really solidified my desire to branch aviation and hopefully fly Apaches. So I'm not worried about that. And again, with the major, I think West Point has a ton of different majors that he would be interested in and do well. And so kind of going away from my future, but looking at his, I'm really excited to see what these next 4 years have. I'm looking forward to get back to West Point for some of his experiences that I've experienced, but kind of be on the other side of things. So that'll be pretty cool.
And what do you think, Ethan, on that question?
Like I said before, I'm really excited. It's going to be something totally different, unlike anything I've ever done before. And there's a certain part of me that's scared, but there's a greater part of me that's like excited and ready to take on a new adventure. I know going to West Point that I'm going to be challenged in ways I haven't been challenged before, and people have been reaching out to me who are familiar with West Point or the Army, saying, I'm going to have my work cut out for me. I'm going to have to work hard, and that's something I fully understand and I'm willing to get myself into. And I've been advised to embrace the suck of the Army, and this sucks, to embrace it and use it as motivation. And that's something I feel like I'm prepared to do. But another thing I'm looking forward to from going to West Point is I'm going to meet tons of people from all around the country, even some people from different parts of the world. And I know that Christian has been able to form some great friendships and bonds with people that he wouldn't have met if he didn't go to West Point. So that's also a part I'm looking forward to, forging some lifelong friendships and some unbreakable bonds.
And of course, one of your uncle, name escapes me because I can look that up. But of course, he was in it before you guys. How proud is he of you both now being Army guys?
I think he's pretty excited. The three of us kind of talk. Like I text Ethan a bunch, like when I was back in New York, and then I'm in pretty constant communication with our Uncle Dan, and I think he's excited for Ethan. And this wasn't something that him or I had really seen prior to this year. West Point was always my goal from like the 7th grade on, and he was a huge part of that and the inspiration for that, and then helping me along the way. So he was part of the entire process, especially with my parents not being familiar with it at all. But Ethan, I think he's sat back a little bit, but he's still obviously very proud. My parents are able to handle a lot more, or it's a lot easier going through the second time. So he's definitely been a little more hands-off, but he's definitely just as proud of Ethan as he was of me. And I think in general, it's pretty cool for our family. We have another cousin on my mom's side who is a freshman in high school, but wants to go to West Point too. So it's really cool to see how he's kind of been the trailblazer for West Point and the Army in our family.
So it's going to be a family affair. Okay. All right. Well, thanks guys for your time, and good luck to you in your future career, Christian. Best of luck to you, Ethan, for when you head out there, and also for whatever is left of this current season. And thanks for your time. This is Eric VanSickle reporting for Waverly Newspapers.
Thank you.